sohbetimize başlayalım. Now, if you will excuse ladies first, sir. Let's ask the first question to Clary. Do you think social media would preserve its power as strong perception management and tool in coming years? And are there any opportunities left for fresh entrepreneurs? What's your opinion?
There are incredible and constant opportunities for fresh entrepreneurs in social media. You know, the reason social media is so effective is that it allows anyone to have a voice. So whether you are a brand new entrepreneur or an existing brand or organization, you can get on social media, get your message out, and make an impact. So there are absolutely great opportunities every day and on many different social media platforms.
And Claire, actually, this program's name is Entrepreneurship World. I mean, in Turkey. So we talk about entrepreneurship, everything, and Twitter is actually one of the greatest companies in the startup world, and you are one of the early employees in Twitter. So, I mean, can you tell us? I mean, how does it feel like to be one of the working in one of the leading social media platforms in our times, and in one of the leading startups? And how did it work for you?
Well, you know, my time at Twitter was really defined by how Twitter as a platform could be used to make a positive difference. And it's so interesting to be here at Entrepreneurship Week simply because I think those individuals making the most positive difference these days on social media are those who have an idea and are using a social media platform to amplify that idea, right? So for me, that has been the joy of my work at Twitter, and I believe the joy of the work of those entrepreneurs themselves, you know, having the chance to really take their own microphone and blast their message out to the world.
Mm-hmm. And also, do you think usage of social media is a must for marketing? What's your opinion?
I absolutely think it's a must for marketing, but I don't think it's a must because, you know, I say you should, or your neighbor says you should, or your boss says you should. It's a must simply because it gives you power. There is power in your hands when you can get on social media and you can speak about the difference you are trying to make in the world. You know, social media, Twitter in particular, is a one-to-many platform. So I say one thing, I speak, and many people hear me. And this is really the benefit of it and the way that you're able to make an impact, and also the way you're able to find influence and leaders learning about your work and connect with them to make a greater impact together.
And also, actually, you have an initiative called Twitter for Good, and also you have a book about it. I mean, can you also tell us a bit about how can we use Twitter for good and also other social media platforms for good?
Sure. So, I mean, I think the first and most important thing when you're thinking about how you can use social media for good is you first need to understand your own message and figure out if your message is something that you believe will resonate with the world. Because if your message is going to resonate, then it's going to resonate like crazy on social media. Social media is a way for you to reach the people you couldn't reach before. And you know, sometimes social media is criticized because we say, oh, social media is just about developing those weak ties, right? So if I ask you to do something on social media, you are less likely to do it because of our connection on social media than you might be if we knew each other in real life. But ultimately, it's the weak tie that builds the strong tie, and that's why social media is so effective, because you're starting a relationship and then you're taking it somewhere, perhaps off the platform. So that is really the power of Twitter for good, or for social media for good, I would say.
Actually, I'm amazed with that. I mean, when I was having my PhD studies in marketing, I mean, that the first time I encountered the strength of the weak ties, and it's really powerful, and actually we live it in this outside world as well, and the social media has amplified or gives you a chance to strengthen this weak ties. Actually, I mean, I agree with you in that sense.
And let's talk about a bit Brad TRUSKO. Sir, could you please give more details your project with team and with Turkey? What's your plans?
Sure. Pardon me, I have a cold. I've been traveling a lot all over the world. We formed the International Association of Innovation Professionals precisely because we needed to professionalize innovation. We talk about entrepreneurship, we talk about creativity, but there's a bridge between creativity and entrepreneurship. If you have a great idea and you can't turn that into a product or a platform, then it's just an idea. And there's many people out there that call themselves innovators, but what we're trying to do is say, okay, let's prove it. Let's build a body of knowledge. Let's have a platform where people can demonstrate that they know the tools and techniques.
So what does it mean to be an innovation professional? I mean, isn't it all about creativity? So do we need to be professionals about that? So what does it mean?
Well, you think about like the journey with Twitter. Someone came up with an idea. They had to go to a venture capitalist. They had to write a business plan, a marketing plan. They had to actually secure the technology and the people to build it. And then they had to take it to market and figure out how to make money off of it. That's a lot of steps between being creative and having a product.
So, I mean, in that sense, actually, I think yesterday you made a protocol with Team Turkish Exporters Assembly. So what does it mean? I mean, you know, so you do some certification as well. I mean, what does it mean for the companies, and how can they use this?
So how we kind of got to this was I started an academic journal years ago. I worked part-time as a professor. I was a consultant for most of my career. And I kept getting executives come to me and say, you know, I hired this person, and they claim to be an innovation expert. And after 2 years, I fired them. I paid their severance. I'm out of $500,000. Can you help me identify who really knows about innovation and who just says they know about innovation? So we set up the nonprofit globally, but we have local chapters. The local chapter is independent. It's going to be housed by Tim here, and it allows for creating a network. So we've developed a software system that allows you to create a community just inside of Turkey. You can create small chapters inside of universities, so you can have student chapters where the students can work together on innovation. It's a great platform for open innovation, just for teaching each other, for networking.
And also, Mr. Woods, please analyze the countries. For example, what you think about developing countries or developed countries is easy to start creating all the innovation.
I have to tell you, I'm more excited about the Middle East, Turkey, India, and innovation than anywhere else. And the thing that really impresses me with Turkey is how you're so supportive of your young people and your young population. I mean, this is where the future is going to come from, and bringing them in. I've never been to a conference that gave away high school, elementary school innovation awards. This is amazing to me, because the impression you make by recognizing that these kids have potential and that they have value is, I've not seen that anywhere except here in Turkey. So I'm quite impressed by that.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, are there any examples from the companies that you work with? So I mean, in terms of how you help with this non-profit organization?
We're actually developing something very interesting, being led by the Director of Innovation, Dawn Gregory, at the Atlanta airport. And what she's come to us with is, I couldn't tell because I flew in here at night, but in many cities, the area surrounding the airport is quite poor. You know, it's a lower income neighborhood. People don't live near airports. And Atlanta has decided that what they want to do, because they have so many professionals traveling out of the airport, is they want to develop the area around the airport to be an area that people want to live in. They'll call it the Aeroplex. They'll build apartments, clubs, restaurants, mass transit. And so they want to get other airports, airlines involved in this Aeroplex project to share ideas about how to develop the areas around airports to make them more livable.
Mm-hmm. And also, I mean, just to connect with what Claire said, I mean, how do you find social media effective in making innovation happen?
Well, social media can be good and it can be bad. I think the unfortunate thing about social media is it's like being at a party and everyone talks louder and louder until the end of the night. Everyone's yelling at each other. Hopefully the good voices are the ones that went out in social media, and we hear the people that say good things and not so much the people that say bad things. So we try to say good things and communicate good things through our social media.
So, actually, I mean, when you say this, I mean, it's also similar about what people say about marketing as well. I mean, people say, I mean, all marketing is bad, but I mean, it's just a tool. I mean, people can use it for good or for bad. I mean, it just depends on your intention or what purpose you would like to use it for.
Yes. I'm glad there's more characters in Twitter now, so you can have longer messages. We use it. We're not as effective as we could be. We've been so busy building the infrastructure of the association that we haven't developed the number of followers that we need. So if you do want to follow, it's at IAOIP. Love to get some more followers today so we can communicate our message better.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to programs
Okay.
in social media, I want to ask Claire. There has been an ongoing acquisition trend among social media. Do you have any M&A plans coming in years for Twitter?
Oh, I don't know, and I don't think I could speak to that even if I did know. But I
right.
think suffice it to say there's a huge trend to go after small startups that really focus on local issues in different countries. And I would say developing countries are just becoming increasingly more interesting when it comes to technology. So I think for me personally, that is what I'm most excited about from entrepreneurs, is seeing entrepreneurs taking the reins, taking technology, doing good with it, and trying to amplify their voice in their small communities, and then hopefully through an M&A, be able to have an even bigger impact.
I mean, in that sense, do you agree that, I mean, social networks can also emerge from other countries? Because I mean, many social networks are based in US. I mean, because it's because of maybe because of the culture, because of the other tools. But I mean, when you start a social network in other countries, I mean, it doesn't seem to be easy to catch all over the world. I mean, do you think it is possible, or if an entrepreneur would like to start a social network platform, should they move to US, Silicon Valley? I mean, how does it affect for that purpose?
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up. There is this effect of technology in the US is at a certain level of advancement that if you achieve a certain level of success, you can activate to a larger range really quickly. But that being said, what works on social media is engagement, whether it's an individual or a new platform, it's engagement, right? So you could create a new social network today in Rwanda, and if you get incredible engagement, that is the most predictable tool of if this is going to work in other places. So ultimately it's about that, and I think when you see engagement, that's where you see innovation power.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what you're saying is, I mean, the entrepreneurs should concentrate on the outcome metrics, the engagement. It doesn't matter where it comes from. So they can start wherever they are, and they can expand to other places.
Right, proof of concept in one area, in one local community, in one neighborhood, that is the first step. It's all sort of this large funnel, and you want to start with, one small place where you're seeing an impact, and then increase and increase and increase upon that impact.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in that sense, I mean, what do you think about those movements to start? For example, I mean, because in this civil rights movements, especially Twitter was one of the leading platforms in the Middle East or in Eastern Europe. I mean, like this Occupy movements. I mean, social media was the factor that amplified those movements. I mean, what do you think about starting a movement? I mean, are we living in the age of movements? What do you think about that?
So, I mean, this is such a big topic, and this is the thing I most like talking about. A lot of sort of the question of whether social media can create movements comes from a 2010 article written by this American thinker Malcolm Gladwell, and he said in this article, the revolution will not be tweeted, and that's something I'm going to talk about today in my discussion here at Turkey Innovation Week. But essentially, his idea was something we mentioned earlier, that these movements, if you look back at history, movements are really built on strong ties, right? This idea that in order for someone to risk their life for a cause or to make change, they need a strong tie with another person, right? And so his argument was that can't effectively be created anywhere on social media. So what I would say, and what I have been saying since he came out with that article 10 years ago, is that he may be right, but from a weak tie, a strong tie grows. And that's essentially where social media wins, right? You are able to create a weak tie with someone perhaps on the other side of the world, or perhaps on the other side of your neighborhood, who you want to start a movement or spark a movement with. And it's through that initial connection that you're then able to deepen and ultimately create a movement. So yes, I believe social media is an incredible tool for movements, but as you said earlier, it's also just a tool, right? Movements come from people. Social media helps activate. It maybe helps activate it quicker and maybe on a larger stage these days, but it is just a tool. Movements come from people.
And last 5 minutes, and also I want to ask, or could you please give some message for the young people watching us and early startups? What do you say?
Well, it's interesting because her and I actually we've never met before. We have to meet in Turkey, although we apparently lived most of our adult lives about 5 miles apart in the Bay Area. And you know, my personal experiences, I've started 7 companies, including the nonprofit association now. I started a .com in 2000 and sold it. Every company that I started, there were more people that said it wouldn't work. And young people are going to run into that too. Oh, somebody's already doing that. Do you know that? No, I'm sure that somebody's doing it. And you know, every time I've been successful with these companies because I didn't listen. Well, I think, you know, if you want to be an entrepreneur, an innovator, you need to believe in yourself. And this is one of the things, I think, one of the reasons we have a lot of young innovators is because after a while you don't believe in yourself anymore. As you get older, sometimes you kind of lose your confidence and stuff like that. When you're young, you can take over the world, you're immortal, and you can take risks. And that's really the difference between older innovators and younger innovators. I don't believe that young people are more innovative. They just have a higher appetite for risk. I've never lost that, and so I've done 7 companies, even though people have told me that every time I've done it that it's been a bad idea. So my message to young people is believe in yourself and go do it. You'll probably be successful.
If someone is telling you it's a bad idea, it's probably a good idea.
It's probably a great idea.
So, and also vice versa. I mean, if everyone tells it's a great idea, probably it's the worst idea. I mean,
come up with a new one, right?
Yes, yeah, you should. You need to come up with a new one.
And you're probably right. If people think it's a great idea, it's because they've probably heard it somewhere else.
Yes.
And they are listening to the crowd. So, you know, believe in yourself.
And many ideas are crazy. For example, I mean, we are living in the frenzy of this blockchain, Bitcoin movement, and now I see messages. People were talking about
amazing.
it 7-8 years ago. Some people are talking about, okay, this will be crazy. Oh my God! I mean, don't make me fun about it. But now, I mean, people are, oh my God, where did this come from? No, it didn't come just in one night. It was all here for the last 10 years, but nobody noticed it. So I think it's how the innovations come up.
And we know that about the myth of creating something in your garage. A few people did, but most people it takes time and it takes a lot of effort. The guy that does water.org, he was doing water.org for like 15 years before Matt Damon stepped up, and all of a sudden everyone thought he was an overnight success. So, you know, there's a lot of hard work goes into anything you want to do.
Clary, what's your message?
Well, my message, it's interesting. I think it can carry right on the back of that. You know, you mentioned water.org, and I think water.org is a fabulous example of an organization that was plugging along, having slow success, and seeing results for many years. And then what you had was this big influencer come in and help amplify it, right? In this case, it was Matt Damon. And what you see there is that, you know, in the past we used to rely on these celebrities to amplify things, but these days, because of the tools of social media, we actually have in our hands the abilities to find influencers and increase impact. And so I guess what I would encourage anyone here today to really think about is, you're a small startup, you're a medium-sized startup, whatever you are, you're a guy or a gal with an idea. You can make a difference by simply getting your idea out there and trying to amplify it from where you are today.
You can be the celebrity of your own field and attract others.
Absolutely. You are the brand.
Yes, that's right.
Any last question? Last 1 minute.
Actually, I mean, then if it is the last question, I would like to ask you. I mean, so I think this is your first time in Turkey and in this organization. I mean, what do you think about this type of organizations? I mean, the team is organizing this organization for the last years about innovation, entrepreneurship, and for the corporates and for the government and startups. I mean, what's your impression so far? What do you think about the organization? How does it help?
Well, I've been to Turkey a handful of times. I
really?
love this country. Sorry. Yes. I love this country, and I think what is so interesting about Turkey is you see this interesting collaboration between the private sector and government. And we're seeing this increasingly all over the world. What can happen when governments can back entrepreneurs, partner entrepreneurs, or perhaps amplify the message of entrepreneurs? And you see impact in a way that you maybe aren't seeing as much in Silicon Valley, say. So I think there's a great opportunity here, and we've got to see where it goes, right?
Well, that's great comment. And Brett, last comment.
Well, this is my first trip here, and it's the first day that it's not raining since I got here, so it's beautiful. But I'm the same thing. I've been working with Tim now, trying to put together our partnership for about a year, and they're an amazing group. They do good work, and this is proof of it. If you get to come down here and see this conference this year, definitely come next year.
Thank you very much for joining us, Brett, and also Claire. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
details.
It was a nice
Having me.
conversation. It was
Yeah.
nice having you, and hopefully we can meet later, maybe in Silicon Valley next time.
Very good.
Çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Çok keyifliydi.
Evet.
Bu hafta bir değişiklik yaptık efendim. Tim'den buradan bildirdik. Çok değerli konuklarımız vardı. TRUSKO İnovasyon Profesyonelleri Derneği Başkanı. Önümüzdeki dönemlerde Tim'le beraber daha çok ismini duyuracağız ve Twitter Sosyal İnovasyon Müdürü Claire DIAZ ORTIZ bizimleydi. Bizi izlediğiniz için teşekkür ederim. Birazdan bugün web yayınımız olmayacak ama onu anons etmeyeyim. Bu haftalık ama bu programa doymuşsunuzdur diye düşünüyoruz. Herkese mutlu hafta sonları.